Hey there everybody, Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Best to Worst Albums. Today we're going to look at the discography of the band Soundgarden from Seattle. Of course, one of the leaders of that whole movement in the late 80s and especially the early mid-90s from the Seattle scene, along with Alice in Chains and Nirvana, bands that basically, and Pearl Jam as well, got to throw them in there, bands that kind of changed the face of music throughout the 90s, the grunge, the alternative movement, whatever you want to call it. But, Soundgarden's music was always really rooted more in kind of early punk rock as well as the classic Black Sabbath sound, that early doom metal. You listen to a lot of the early Soundgarden albums, the very, very early stuff and the EPs, very much punk influenced. And then as they started to move along in their career a lot, all of a sudden you started hearing these big bruising Sabbath-style riffs from Kim Thayil, and how about those vocals from Chris Cornell, the late Chris Cornell, right? Again, you listen to the classic Soundgarden stuff, and it's just he was just this breath of fresh air, this kind of meeting of Ian Gillan and Robert Plant, right? The shrieking metal god. What a great singer, and the more you kind of go back and listen to those old Soundgarden albums, the more you realize just how great they were. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from my least favorite to my absolute favorite. And again, none of these are bad albums by any means, but I just prefer some to the others. And I'm not going to include these. Okay, so this is the Screaming Life / FOP EP. Okay, which is okay. I'm not really huge on this at all. This is very early Soundgarden before they kind of really came into their own, so to speak. And then, of course, this is the Echo of Miles collection, which has a lot of, B-sides and rare tracks and things like that. There's some good material on here. So these are both worth checking out if you're, trying to be a Soundgarden completist and you have all the studio albums. Definitely seek these out. They've got a live album, they've got some other compilations and things like that, but that's probably, the extent of all I need on the extra stuff. But anyway, let's get to the regular discography now, should we? So coming in, my least favorite, but still a very solid album, is, of course, Ultra Mega OK, their full-length debut. Some solid stuff on here. Very raw, very early Soundgarden, obviously. Like I said, I think the punk influence is still very much here. Not as much of the kind of Sabbathisms that they would really start getting into on future albums, but still pretty strong album. I actually didn't have this for eons and eons. I just got this not too long ago. But I'm glad I got it. It's definitely worth having. A very strong album, I think. Great debut. Next up, their last album, King Animal. Okay. They've been broken up for a number of years, got back together, put out this album. I think this is a pretty damn solid album. Not as heavy as some of their earlier albums, but I think songwriting-wise, pretty strong. There's some really memorable material on here, and another good vocal performance from Cornell. And I like a lot of the textures that are on here. It's just a very, very solid album that the more I listen to it, the more I enjoy. I just love that album cover too. Pretty damn good. Next up, Down on the Upside, all right, which was their last studio album before they kind of broke up for a number of years. Pretty strong, Again, less heavy than the 3 albums that came before it, but some really intense tunes on here. And, again, showed the power of the band. And another just great performance from Chris Cornell. And I dig it. All right, so Louder Than Love. This is the album that kind of first got me noticing Soundgarden. I remember this, they released this. This is just before they really started to break big. But this has got, some really, really good songs on there. Full on Kevin's Mom, Loud Love. I think that's the tune that I first heard. I was like, ooh, what is that? Some nice fuzzy guitars going on there. Gun, Hands All Over, Ugly Truth. What else we got on here? Uncovered, Big Dumb Sex. Good stuff. Good stuff. There's the band right there, looking pretty young and what have you. All right, so my number 2 favorite in the Soundgarden canon is Super Unknown. This is what basically made them superstars. Okay, the album before it, which is coming up in a second, I think really kind of solidified their arrival, but it was this one that broke them into the mainstream in a big way. What do we got on here? You know, of course, Black Hole Sun was a huge hit for them. Super Unknown, you know, got played quite a bit. What else is Let Me Drown is great. My Wave, Fell on Black Days, very accessible tune. Spoon Man was another big hit for them. What else is good on here? Limo Wreck is pretty damn cool. 4th of July, quite doomy. It just top to bottom, really, really strong. Really, really strong. However, I have a ridiculously soft spot for Bad Motorfinger. To me, this album is... The funny thing is, here's a funny story. So I was pretty into Soundgarden back in like the early mid-90s, right? But then I got really dissatisfied with basically every other band from that whole scene, with the exception of these guys and Alice in Chains. But I just really tried to distance myself from all of those Seattle bands, all of those grunge alternative bands, and I stopped listening to most of that stuff for like 2 decades. And I basically just like threw all my Soundgarden stuff in a corner somewhere, never to be seen again. And then I don't know what it was. It was a couple of months ago. I heard Outshined somewhere. I don't remember where I heard it. And I was like, holy crap, I had forgotten how great that song is. And I went out and, you know, dug these back up, and I was like, holy crap, I'd forgotten how really, really strong some of these albums are, especially this one. I mean, this just, you know, Rusty Cage and Outshined, and I mean, geez, what else is on here? Slaves and Bulldozers, God, Jesus Christ Pose. I mean, just an unbelievable amount of heavy, heavy songs. And like I mentioned the Black Sabbath influence before. I mean, there's so much Sabbath influence on this album. It's like Sabbath with, you know, riffs with Cornell shrieking to the heavens. A bruising album that I've just, since I've kind of reacquainted myself with Soundgarden again, I've been listening to this one, especially nonstop, as well as this one, and also this one to an extent. I've been listening to all of them, but specifically those three, which for me are like pinnacle Soundgarden. But you really can't go wrong with any of them. So that's it. My best to worst from Soundgarden, a band that, you know, unfortunately will be no more now that Chris has passed away. I think that's basically all we're going to see from them, and maybe rightfully so, right? But quite a nice legacy there in just a few short albums, some really, really good material, and I think along with the classic Alice in Chains releases, some pretty strong stuff from that early Seattle scene. For me, those are the two bands that I can go back to from the whole grunge era and still listen to with fondness. I have no use for Nirvana or Pearl Jam anymore, but these two bands, some seriously good stuff. So anyway, that's our best to worst albums for Soundgarden. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're here on the mighty YouTube as often as possible. We got some other stuff coming up this week. What is on tap? So I'm going to do a questions and answers show. So many of you are sending me messages. It's like, where's the question and answers show? I waited all weekend. I know a lot of you guys look forward to that. I just been so busy doing other stuff for the channel that, you guys got to understand, to do a questions and answers show is like a half a day worth of research and sifting through the questions and then recording the thing. So it's a lot of work. And the last couple weekends I've been away, and then I was shooting other shows this weekend, so I just have not had the time. But fear not, it's coming. If I don't get to it one night during this week, I'll definitely do it this coming weekend. So a couple weeks late, but I'm going to get to it. I am going to try very hard to do a Saga top 10 songs this week. I'm going to try to do a Max Webster top 10 songs this week. A little delay on the Dio top 10 songs. Chris Allo had something come up over the weekend, so we weren't able to shoot that. But that's coming. Hopefully we're going to squeeze that in this weekend. Butch Jones is coming in. We're going to do a Gary Moore top 10 songs, and we're also talking about doing best to worst albums by Thin Lizzy. That's going to be in the works. What else? Holy crap, so much stuff. Oh, and I got a question for all you guys. So for all of you folks who listen to this channel, watch these videos, if any of you out there are writers or interested in writing about new metal releases, prog rock metal releases, hard rock metal releases, I could desperately use some writers for our website. Okay, not to do videos, but specifically to receive either digital download promos or physical copies of CDs, and to write reviews. Okay, I also have a lot of jazz stuff that we cover as well. So if you are at all interested in writing for Sea of Tranquility, the website, okay, www.seaoftranquility.org, please let me know. Put a little message here in the comments, or go to our Facebook page, okay, on Sea of Tranquility on Facebook, and send me a little note. Let me know if if you've written before, and if you're interested, what type of stuff you like, and we'd be happy to possibly add you. I got so much product that comes in that needs to be reviewed. So, but only serious people. All right, only if you're serious. Like I said, we don't get paid to do this. This is a labor of love. So if you love receiving new music and listening to them, putting some thoughts down, it's fast-paced. A lot of stuff comes in. So only do this if you're someone who is willing and able to, receive some stuff from me, give it a listen or two or three, jot down a review, and move on to the next one. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so if it doesn't interest you or you don't think you have the time, please don't bother. Only serious people who want to have fun with this, be a part of the whole Sea of Tranquility machine, get some cool new music, and put down their thoughts and opinions on it. That's what it's all about. All right, so if you are, reach out to me. And I thank you all in advance, and we'll see you next time. All right, take care. Bye-bye.